Hey gang, Rod here at East Coast Lumberjack. And last time we did a video, we busted up some wood. It was a lot of fun. This week I want to talk about something else, which is the shape of a handle. And we talk a lot about the pattern, okay, whether it's a French curve or a Aussie speed axe handle or maybe an Adirondack handle. So that basically gives you the shape of it. Okay, what's the handle shaped like? Okay, is it long? Does it have? Is it a French curve with a lot of curve to it? I'll show you one of those. French curves they're beautiful to look at. Take a lot of wood because there's a lot of swing and slope in these. But it's pretty. It's very pretty. That's a French curve. But now what we don't necessarily talk a lot about is what the handle feels like. Okay, how wide or narrow should it be, and how thick should it be? Now, the one thing I will say about axe handles is it really all comes down to personal preference. A lot of guys contact me and say, Rod, what's the best for this? What's the best? It really does come down to what do you want to use. Okay. Now, as a rule of thumb, what guys used to say, they used to use the old armpit. You know, a logger in the woods would say, okay, well, you want an axe that you can actually reach to the end of the the eye. Okay, that's the best length for you. So the longer the guy was, the lankier the guy was, the longer his handle would be. So this one here, so I guess what I would be, I'm about a 29-inch wingspan. So I guess that's my draw length on my bow. So a 30-inch handle, most people, I'm 6 foot tall, 30 inches is about it. Now what I will say, for any competitors watching when we're talking about handles and shapes and sizes and that type of thing, what I will say about handles is there's a just like when we talk about chopping, there's a balance between power and speed. With axe handles, it's the same thing. Okay, lengthwise, there's a balance between power and speed. So if you were a bigger guy, and I've tried to get my young fellas because they're big dudes, and I say, okay, let's go with a little bit longer handle, because if they're bigger and stronger and they can swing that axe a little bit fat, if it's that much longer, they're going to get more penetration than the guy beside them that's only 6 foot tall. That's just a matter of physics. So I've tried to get them to actually go with longer handles. And they have. Actually, Nathan was swinging a 31.5 inch for a bit, but he couldn't keep the pace. Okay, so what happens is the longer the handle, the longer time it takes for you to actually go through your motion. So you lose a bit on speed. And there's a fine line between speed and power. So we're actually, he probably wouldn't want me to tell you, is we're going to change his handles just slightly, okay, so that he can keep his pace up. But nonetheless, so what is the best shape of a handle? And I want to talk about that because there's a few things. If the direction of the blade matters, and actually in most axes it does, so that means controlling where the blade is going to hit. Okay, if that matters to you, if you make a round handle, like this one here is a lot more rounded than what I will typically make, and we're going to cut it up here in a minute. I'm going to cut it on the bandsaw and show you. A rounded handle gives you less ability to tell where straight is. Okay, just feeling it. So I've done this on my throwing axes. Okay, when I make a throwing axe handle, and I've got a few here. Here's a throwing axe handle here. I make my throwing axe handles wider than they are thick. Okay, this is the shape of my throwing axe handles. Okay, you can see it's basically oblong. Okay, it's oblong, but it's actually even. Okay, so both sides, I can flip it this way or this way, and it's the same. Now, the axe that I used at the World Axe Throwing Championships last year is even thinner and even a little bit wider. So it's a little bit more narrow and a little bit wider, so it's even more shaped more like a board, because I can really feel when I'm straight. Okay, so in axe throwing, where you want to get the axe perfectly in line with a bullseye, I think that helps a ton. If it's a rounded handle, you're not going to get the same accuracy. Okay, so generally speaking, if we're using a tool where we want to direct the blade, thinner is better. Okay, a little bit thinner, a little bit wider, means you can feel where that blade is going. Okay, so on my throwing axes, now the other thing, and this was actually told to us by Don Quigley, he was a professor of forestry at University of New Hampshire, great lumberjack buddy of mine. He was with he provided all the wood for the Steel Timber Sports series in the States for years and years. Great fella. And he always said, if you actually hold your hand, if you cup your hand and look at what it looks like when the light shines through it, you'll see that it actually is shaped like this. Okay, this is my octagonal pattern. Okay, 8-sided, and this one here, actually this baby's for sale, 32-inch ash. When you put that in your hands, it fits really nice. And my oldest boy, Ben, liked it so much, I actually put one in his chopping axe that he took to the World Championships last year at the team relay. So Ben swung one of these octagonal handles in that. He let some of the other competitors from Australia and New Zealand check it out, and they just kind of, they didn't like it. And I'll tell you why, because what they use, and this, when I make chopping handles, I make them shaped like this. Okay, so I'm going to run this over, and I'm going to cut it on the bandsaw. I'm going to wreck another handle to show you the shape of a chopping axe handle, of a racing axe handle. Okay, another handle wrecked at East Coast Lumberjack. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that burr off so you can see. Now the shape, this here shape, it's a teardrop shape, okay, teardrop. And you'll see here, that is typically the shape of a chopping handle. And it fits your hands really nice because you're a little bit larger at the back, a little bit narrower at the front, and it's rounded the whole way. Okay, so that's what I call a teardrop shaped handle, and it feels really nice in your hand. Now most competitors, that's what they want in their handle. So either this or else we'll take a little bit more off the back to make it a little bit straighter on this, instead of coming in at an angle, it'll actually be almost straight. But that is, in my mind, the ideal handle shape. Now, this, okay, that's more rounded. And that's typically what you get from a manufactured handle. I'm going to wreck this one. I want to show you what this one here, the big one that we actually busted last time, I'm going to cut it and show you what it looks like. We can really, come on. I don't know where this was made. It's got a yellow sticker on it. Who knows? So, but it's quite round, and you can look at the grain. The grain's terrible. So this wasn't a good handle for a number of reasons. Okay, I couldn't wait to get it out of the axe, put one of mine in. But the grain's wrong. It's very rounded. Okay, so and a guy may grab this and say, oh, that's a big rugged handle, it's going to last long. But of course we saw how long it lasted when we put some pressure on it. Now the other thing I will say about grain orientation, if it's a hickory handle, given how tough hickory wood is, you can get away, in my mind, you can get away with changing your grain of your handle and not really lose much as far as strength goes, because hickory is a tough wood, period. So I don't worry quite. Now again, I always make my handles grain going lengthwise of the eye, always do. But I still think if you don't have that, and a guy got a hold of me the other day, I can't remember where he called me from, somewhere's in the US. He said, you know what, I think I've got all this hickory wood, I want to try to get as much handle wood out of it as I can, but I can't get my grain straight. And I told him, I said, listen, if it's hickory, don't worry about it, because hickory is so tough. It's actually, all the strength properties are so much better than the other woods, you'll get away with it. You don't have to worry so much about grain orientation with hickory, in my opinion. So that's another handle shape. So, we've talked about the different handle shapes. The one that actually fits best and that I like the most, of course, is this one here, the teardrop shaped. Okay, that's what you're looking for. So, when you sometimes if people order custom handles, they'll say, "Hey, Rod, what can I want it this long, this wide." I can do that. Okay, I'll just take my calipers and I'll just keep measuring. I'll keep whittling it down here until I get there. If I send you a handle and it doesn't quite feel right, don't be bashful. Grab your spoke shave, grab your draw knife, grab whatever, your rasp, and change it a bit. Okay, change a handle. And I know that I've sold handles before to Sterling Hart, and we've been over at the World Championships, and Sterling's been there with a wood rasp, changing his handle, making it feel good. Actually, the World Championship he won, he spent more time messing around with the shape of his handle than he did anything else, and he won the Worlds. Great competitor. But just saying, you can mess around with that stuff. Okay, it's made of wood. You can play with it. So on axe shapes, that's my professional opinion. Even though we could debate whether I'm a professional or not. But if you get at some of the axe handles from down under, you'll see that they actually use the same thing. They're either that nice oblong shape like this, or they're teardrop shaped like this. So, and that's what the best in the world use. This stuff here might be good for a split and maul, but it's not much good if you're going to use any kind of axe where you want to direct where the blade's going. So that's what I have to say. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. There's more good stuff coming. East Coast Lumberjack, signing off.